So 20 people who died, 20 who got out of the building, and 20 who did not show up for work. The treasurer at my church worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. Hormones are amazing. Hormones are the operating managers of our bodies. There are 400 functions that are tied into our hormones. There are hormone receptors on every single cell in the body.
Hey everybody, Cam Hemphill here, your host for the Medical Millionaire podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. My goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. So if you're thinking about becoming a practice owner or you are looking to scale your practice, everything we talk about on all of these episodes is about business, creative finance, understanding what it takes to be an entrepreneur, how to make your practice profitable, marketing strategies, everything from your business acumen, expertise, and how to level that game up. So guys, I have an incredible guest on today. She's been in the healthcare industry for many years, and she has an incredible story. She has an incredible journey. We were talking offline, and I absolutely had to have her on the show. She's an absolute powerhouse. She used to deliver babies, OBGYN, sold the practice, had a very successful exit, and she's back at it again. Obviously, as entrepreneurs see a vision, we have to see that stuff through. I want to welcome Dr. Marcia A. Harris to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, my dear. Let's get it going.
Thank you so much for having me, Cameron. And, I have to say kudos to you because since I've jumped into the podcast space, especially podcast guesting, it is so important what you folks do. It really is, because
Thank you.
there is so much misinformation and stuff out there that getting it out, getting the word out, whatever the word for the day is just so important.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. I think some people can look at us as podcasters, but I think that there's more to it than that. I take that title as an honorary badge to give myself the ability to have such wonderful conversations with people like you and to share expertise with the world and share vision with the world and let everybody know that we're all going through shit. We've all been through stuff. And, being an entrepreneur and owning your own destiny is a very decision. It's not an easy decision. So thank you so much for saying that. Now let's go back. I want the industry and the audience and listeners to know who you are. So who are you? Tell us about your background. Tell us about your story. You have an incredible journey and everybody truly needs to be inspired by it.
Well, thank you. How much time do you have?
Yes. I know we could talk all day. How about we start with, take us back to your journey as an OBGYN. What made you love it? I know that's where this whole thing started. And if you want to even go before that, go for it.
Well, my mother passed away in childbirth when I was 7.5, 8 years old. My mother had sickle cell disease and all kinds of problems when she had me. And they told her not to get pregnant again. She had another baby about 4 years later, and at that time, that baby died. And they told her again, don't ever get pregnant again. She did, and this time the baby lived and she died. So at 8 years old, I said, I want to be a surgeon so other little boys and girls won't lose their mommies. Fast forward to college, and I guess I forgot about it because in college, I literally changed my major 5 times. Speech and drama. I wanted to be on Broadway, but I couldn't sing. That was it. Long story short there, my father, end of the second year of college, my father sent the money to pay for school and sent me a long letter saying I was wasting my money. Did I see anybody looking like me on Broadway or on the television? And I wrote void on the check and sent it back to him. Up to that point, I'd never worked a day in my life. So here I am, 16, 17 years old, never worked a day in my life, sent him back the check and said, uh-oh, how am I going to pay for school? Went out and got not 1, not 2, but 3 jobs. Graduated on time with honors, and the rest, as they say, is history. There's one difference, though. I did change my major from speech and drama to chemistry.
Okay. Okay.
I worked for a year and a half with a pharmaceutical company and in the chemistry lab at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York. And after about 3 months of shaking test tubes, said, okay, this is not for me. I'm going to go to medical school. So I took the 3 or 4 courses that I needed, applied, and got into actually all 7 of the schools I applied to. Went to Columbia because they gave me the most money. I had a full scholarship to Columbia. Now, this is in the late 60s, early 70s. And I graduated medical school, did a year of internal medicine, and then trained in obstetrics and gynecology at the New York Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center, the second oldest
Mm.
hospital in the country. And I was the first Black female to train in that program. I was the 8th woman, period. In those days,
Wow.
OBGYN was an old boys club. There had only been 7 women ahead of me. New York Hospital is the second oldest hospital in the country.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean, you guys hear that? So basically what she's saying, she's really like one of the original OBGYNs that has
Dinosaur.
existed in America. This is incredible.
Female ones.
That's right. Female ones. Good for you. I mean, that's I mean, that had to be, you know, was that challenging for you to jump into that knowing what your environment looked like?
Amazingly challenging.
Yeah.
There are guys on staff who never scrubbed with me. There are guys on staff who, when I was a junior resident, first and second year, they would scream and holler at the administrative chief resident, why are you giving me a junior? I need good help, to get a senior. And when I was the senior resident, they would, oh, I don't need good help. I'll take the intern through it, just so as not to scrub with me. We're talking about the early 60s, and I know I just dated myself, but that's okay. We're talking about the early 70s. All right. And they literally would not scrub with me. Again, in general, most of them were actually surprisingly helpful and would teach and didn't have a problem. But there was the old gang who at that time had a problem with me. Now, I'll say one other thing. It was all payback because at the end, I was the administrative chief resident. So, like it or not, they had to deal with me. I was the one making the decisions and doing the assignments and all of the above.
How did that feel?
Amazing, amazing. I remember at the chief residence dinner, my then husband actually, on the way home, looked at me and said, is there anything they think you cannot do? And I said, yeah, father a child.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So coming full circle there, starting in an environment that was challenging, probably frightening, nervous, maybe there's some uncertainty, if you will, and coming full circle to actually becoming the boss, and people had to look to you for questions, answers, permission. I absolutely admire that.
So I then, right after, started my own practice and again, did very well. I had a huge OBGYN practice right here on Manhattan's East Side and did very, very well. I mean, to the point where when I got so, when I started getting so busy that I was, you know, not getting home very frequently, I actually, everybody else was charging one price. I doubled the price. And the higher I put my price, the more people I got. It was like, okay, what do we do now? I eventually took a couple of partners in, but even so, had a really very good practice right here on the east side. And it's funny because the one thing everybody knew was that not only were they getting the best, but I cared. And I think
Mm.
that's what actually made the difference because I truly, truly, truly cared. And they knew this.
So a couple things to unpack there that I want all the listeners to understand. Well, first off, Did you think by raising your prices, doubling, was going to give you more time? Was it was going to see a reduction
I
in patient flow?
assumed that I would see less patients. That is correct. I assumed that people would balk at the money, but they didn't.
But they balked at the expertise. They saw you as, wow, this is where I want to go. I feel confident that somebody's charging this much. I'm going, this is me. This is the birth of a child. This is a life-changing experience that I'm going to go through. I want the best. So they like talk to us about that. And then also I want to build on the care part.
Well, I took care of a lot of the people from the hospital, nurses, doctors, everybody, people cleaning the floor, everybody. And even when the prices went up, and I neglected to say something else, I did not take insurance. I took insurance for less than 6 months. The first person I delivered was the wife of the chief resident in ophthalmology at Harlem Hospital, which is one of the city hospitals. GHI insurance at the time. At the time, total obstetrical care. We're talking about, again, the early 80s by now. Total obstetrical care, the cost was $1,800,
Mm-hmm.
$1,800 for total obstetrical care. Sent the bill in, got it back, and GHI paid $555.41. Please don't forget the 41 cents.
That was a check to you.
That was the check for total obstetrical care on an $1,800 bill. Now, I had just spent the previous 6 months getting myself into all the insurance panels. And I looked at my office manager and said, "What's this?" And she said, "Oh, that's the payment on Esther." And I said, "For what? The bill was 1,800." She says, "Oh, yeah, but you accept insurance, so you cannot bill her for the balance." I said, "Really? Bring me the contracts." There were no computers those days. 34, she brought me a stack of folders. And I sat there until 10 o'clock that night and hand wrote the letters, taking myself out of every panel. I have never, in more than 40 years of practice, taken insurance because I decided that the care I would give was worth whatever the money was. Therefore, I couldn't discount it because I wasn't going to treat anybody any different. Everybody, I told them, when they came into my practice, they came in and they became an extended part of my family. I treat everybody to this day as I would my mother, myself, or my daughter, and now my 16-year-old granddaughter, be treated. That has to be worth something.
You're brilliant. I don't know if anybody's told you that, or I mean, I'm sure they have, but this is if this came natural to you, or if you just have this intuition, but you make decisions that are very rational
We're talking
from a
about
business standpoint.
45 years ago, okay? Actually, almost 50.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I talk to practice owners all the time, and still to this day, they are terrified to raise prices. They think that the patients will run. They think that they'll price themselves out of the market. And I think, to your point, when you raise prices, it levels up the game that you're the area expert and people want to actually spend more money to get the care and experience that they are looking for. There's a reason why first class is always full. It's always full on the airplane.
It is.
And people have the money to pay for that. And I obviously, especially for a mother that's going to birth a child and having that conversation with their husband or whatever, they are going to want the best provider around. So, by you raising prices, it actually increased patient flow is I think something that I really want the audience to hear. And then your attention to detail of care, right? Treating everybody like they are your own is something that, see, I think people get in the industry sometimes where they look at it through the lens of income. The lens of this is a high income producing type of role and environment. That is the net proceed of the role. That's not the reason you're there, right? The reason you're there is to give incredible patient care and incredible patient experience. And as a net result, you're paid to do it. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, you're the walking example of it.
Absolutely. And again, the patients knew that they would be getting individualized, personalized, excellent care. They knew that I cared. Don't get me wrong. I knew that I didn't know everything. But whatever I didn't know, I had no problem saying to a patient, I'm not sure or I don't know, but I will find out. And if somebody else was better at something than I did, I would say, you know what? If I needed this done, I wouldn't be coming to me. I'd be going to such a person. So let me send you to that person. I had no problem doing that either.
And that builds trust, builds accountability. When they know that they're getting the best care, was that just spread through the community based on how you treated people, and then they'd go to their extracurricular activities and talk?
Basically, that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. I'll give you an example. There's a story. One night I was covering for one of the other attendings, big time Park Avenue practice. And the couple that came in looked at me. And again, I told you when this was. And they looked at me, and the woman refused to have me touch her. It was like, and the nurses, I mean, they tried. And finally, halfway through the labor, she wanted an epidural. And I said to the nurse, I'm sorry, but I'm not giving her an epidural until I can examine her. Now, she had allowed the resident to examine her, but she had not allowed me. And I said, when I can examine her, then she'll get the epidural. And she eventually capitulated. And the nurse actually went in there and said to her, you don't know, but you got the better deal tonight. Stop beating. The head nurse went in there and literally said to her, you got the better deal tonight. Stop being difficult. Okay. You came out ahead. You don't know it. And I'm not saying anything else, but you came out ahead tonight. Stop being difficult. Do you know, not only is that woman still my patient, but I cannot count how many patients she has sent me at that time, as well as since. She actually said to me when I was discharging her from the hospital, when do I see you? And I said, no, I'm not your doctor. You have to go and see. Oh, no, I'm not going back to him. I'm like, yes, you are. You're not coming to me. I was covering for a colleague. I don't steal patients. I'm not taking you as a patient. I cannot take you as a patient by law, at least for a year. And 3 weeks later, I got a call. Such and such referred me. And then the calls started coming. She couldn't come, but she already started sending people. And they all knew I was a Black woman. So they didn't have that to worry about. They came in, they all knew because she told them. But based on the care, that's what happened.
What happened in that room that completely transformed her from "No, don't touch me" to "I'm gonna send my closest relatives, friends, and family to you, even if I can't see you"? What happened in that room?
The day the year was up, she came in the next day.
Of course she did.
I'm as serious as a heart attack. That actually happened.
No, you definitely have a way with people in terms of making them feel comfortable, making them feel, welcome, making them feel like everything's going to be okay when they're in a very vulnerable state, right? I remember I have 2 kids, obviously not, capable enough to do what you women do, but I was in the room when both my kids were born, and I know what that environment is like, at least from a husband standpoint. And we're nervous too. We're scared.
You're
Like, this is crazy. What's happening? I was the shoulder guy. I was actually, one of my good friends told me, "Hey, be the shoulder guy. Just stay up top. Be the shoulder guy for your first." And so I took his advice. I think it was good. I don't know, but yeah. Well, I mean, it's whether you're looking at it from an aesthetic lens, from a OBGYN lens, guys, it's all the same concept. It's provide the best patient care possible, be transparent, be open. You're a care provider. This is medicine. As by default, you will get the referrals. Word of mouth does spread like wildfire. It's still one of the most marketing, underrated components that are out there. People love to talk about experience. By the way, they also love to talk about a bad experience, right? And so if you're doing the complete opposite, maybe it's not the right profession for you. Being a care provider is something that takes a unique personality, unique person that actually is desired and driven by helping people. That's the purpose. And as the net result, again, the income comes. I think if we look at it through that lens, we're going to have a more positive outlook, and our patients are going to have a better experience, and we're going to be happier at the end of the day. So fast forwarding a little bit, there was something that happened to you in a hotel. You were working very hard. As you increase your prices, you practice. Let me not go there yet. Hold on one sec. As you continue to scale and grow and patients are coming in, your practice, you were working very, very hard.
I was. I basically
Walk us
burnt
through that.
out.
Yeah. Okay.
Burnt out. And I got to the point where I ignored me, which is a lot of
Hmm.
things. Sometimes women do that. Women do that a lot. Women do that a lot. We take care of everybody else, our husbands, our children, our bosses, our pastors, our parents. We take care of everybody and we make ourselves secondary. And that's one thing. If you get nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, you have to start with you. I don't know if it's in the Bible, but there's an expression: charity begins at home. You have to start with you, because if you're not around, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. You have to start with you. And that's what I didn't do at that time, because over a period of time, I got, I'll say it, big and fat and ugly. I mean, literally was working so hard. I had gained weight. I was sluggish. I was just not, I was no longer optimizing my health. And I knew something was wrong, but I was so busy taking care of everybody else that I was not taking care of me. And I kept saying, "Oh, I got to check my thyroid. I'm sure I'm hypothyroid. I got to check my thyroid. I'm having all these flashes and all these symptoms. I'm perimenopausal. I got to go do something." But I never did it. And I was speaking at a conference in Atlanta, and I didn't feel well before I left, but I was so busy taking care of everybody else. I was not taking care of me. And I woke up one morning with a Mack truck sitting on my head, 10 tons of tempered steel sitting on my head. I couldn't even open my eyes. My head was not a part of my body. It was not connected. I don't know whether it was 3 minutes or 10 or 20, but I was finally able to drag myself to the bathroom, where I peed and I stooled and then I started vomiting. When I started vomiting, the doctor kicked in,
Mm.
and I said to myself at that time, okay, you're blowing your brain. If you do this right, you'll live to tell about it. If you don't, they'll be going to a funeral. And thank God, in big hotels, there was a phone in the bathroom. I
Hmm.
picked up the phone, sitting on the toilet. I picked up the phone and hit zero. This is the Dr. Harrison room, 1211. I need help. I was able to get out, and I was able to drag myself where I didn't even make it to the bed. I was diagonally across the foot of the bed. Security came up first, and the paramedics, I remember when they took my blood pressure, it was 255 over 144. Or
Jeez.
everybody knows what those numbers mean. 255 over 144. I do not remember most of the next day and a half. I was
Mm.
in and out of consciousness. I remember some things in the emergency room. I remember them sitting me up to do a spinal tap. I remember my daughter, who at the time was in college at Emory University in Atlanta, which is the city I was in. And I remember her with two of my colleagues, her bawling on the two of them. But again, I was in and out of consciousness for more than 24 hours. And I was hospitalized there in Atlanta at Emory University Hospital for 10 days before
Wow.
I was discharged and allowed to take a plane back to New York. That incident changed my entire life because I came back to New York and said, this has to change. You have got to start taking care of you. And everything changed then. That was my, what I call my wake up call.
Okay.
I kicked out the husband. He was the major cause of my stress. Sorry to say, but it started
Sorry.
there. I packed his things and put it in the foyer and checked him into a hotel where he stayed for 3 or 4 months. I guess he figured I would have come around, but I was serious. So he had to go. I changed. I stopped eating meat. I started exercising. I actually lost about 60 pounds in the next 6 or so months. I I changed everything about me. And in doing so, changed everything about the way I practiced medicine. That's what got me into the wellness space.
Oh my gosh. That's a heavy story. It's a lot of providers and business owners go to conferences. In my arena, there's like a conference every weekend. It feels like that's like they're everywhere. And I know that, it's demanding to go. You fly across the country, you're in a hotel, you're away from your family, you're by yourself. You go down, you speak, which is also nerve wracking. There's people around, you have to show up, you got to be, dressed, all the stuff. I know what that's like. And I know that there's a ton of providers out there that almost feel like they have to go to these conferences. I'm a big fan of conferences. It's great to network, it's great to learn, it's great to educate, it's all that stuff. It's all great. But there's also it's almost sometimes this feeling of feeling like you have to go. And, for a provider that is seeing patients all the time, make sure to focus on your health, right? Make sure that you focus on you. Back to exactly what Dr. A. Harris is saying is, take the time to focus on you. And I think a lot of providers out there, I work with tons of them that are constantly serving patients, primarily female. I know that they have kids at home. I know that they have husbands at home, and then they go home and they continuously serve them. And I think as providers, there's definitely a struggle in focusing on what makes you a great provider is taking care of yourself. Right. And so imagine just being in a hotel room, being by yourself and going through this experience and then being in Atlanta for 10 days in the hospital. And man, that's wild. And coming home and say everything has to change. It's almost like this wake up call that you went to the hospital and quit too, right? You went to the practice and said, I'm done. Like
I,
that was
I,
an interesting.
I
Yeah.
didn't quit then,
Okay.
13 years later.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you stay. Okay. So you said full
Actually,
course is focused on the health.
I
Gotcha.
stopped delivering babies then.
Oh, okay. That's what it
I
was.
stopped delivering babies then, but I continued the practice, the gynecologic practice, surgical practice. I continued all of that. I quit everything 13 years later.
Okay. You changed your complete lifestyle, your complete approach to life of taking care of yourself. And, it sounds like there was a relationship that was maybe holding you back, making some unhealthy decisions or whatever that looks like. But I agree with that. If there's something that's holding you back and bringing you to a place that doesn't make sense for your long-term health and long-term objective, sometimes you have to clean house.
You do. You do. And you actually should if it's going to be to your advantage. And a lot of times, again, here we go, women, we put up with stuff and put up with stuff and put up with stuff and don't make the decisions that are really in our favor. So that just, you know, topped it off and gave me the impetus since I was going to change to just change and do what I needed to do. I knew I needed to do that years before, but never did.
Yeah. It could just caught up with you, right? It's almost like you're running at 10,000 RPMs for so long. So what changed from you going back, getting back healthy on your feet, losing weight, feeling great, running your practice? How did you run your practice differently for those 13 years than you did previously? What changed? Obviously, you quit delivering babies, but did you start delegating more at responsibilities? Talk to us about that.
Did I, it's funny because at the time I took in the first partner, I was still micromanaging and checking every chart and checking everything. But she didn't work out, and I took a second person in. When I took her in, she actually she actually became proactive. Like, I would be not on call because we had a schedule, and I would go and I'd pick up the charts and come and start doing them, and she'd walk in, pick them up from in front of me. You're off. I'll do this. And she would take them and go home, and I would say, okay, okay. Then I would find something else to do. And she would come and again go home. And she did that to the point where eventually, and I'm not sure how long it actually took for me to get into the habit of, oh, I'm not on call. Jackie is, you know, and leave. But it's,
Sounded like a good partner.
she was amazing. She was amazing. She is now head of, when I quit, she went back home because she was actually originally from California, and she went back to California. She's now actually director of a hospital in one of the towns in California. She was amazing. Yes.
I love hearing that. And it sounds like you had a partner in the beginning that wasn't the best. You kind of cut ties there,
See,
and then you
here
had this
here we
beautiful
go
partnership.
again. I realized, and she was actually family.
Oh, wow.
She was actually family. But she just did, our methods and the way we did things just did not align. They did not align. She would sit there crocheting and tell the resident to go check the patient, and that type, which is not my style.
Yeah, clearly you're definitely hands-on. Want to give everybody the best experience possible. I could see the friction that would build up over time there and some resentment. So good call. Going back to hey, I need to make a change here, make a decision, getting the right partner in place, and to build on that a little bit, guys. I see a ton of practices, providers, even providers that work for the head practice owner or even other staff members where we keep them around too long. And I would advise you to make those decisions quickly. If they are not the right person on the team, make a change. It's going to be okay. There's 300 million people in America. Obviously, not all of them can work, but there's options. There's people that should be on the bus that are currently not on the bus. So when you think, how can I do this without this person? There is another person out there that can absolutely help you. And if you have somebody on your bus right now, maybe you've been holding on to them for too long. Maybe it's time to let them go and find another person to put in that seat. It's a big thing, and obviously helped in her situation tremendously. Having a partner said, "Look, I got this. Go home. I got it." That's a partner that was looking after her health as well,
Can I
which
tell
is
you?
wonderful.
We are
Yeah.
where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. I truly, truly believe that. And that's proven every day. I mean, the World Trade Center disaster, I know 20 people who died, 20 people who got out of the building, and 20 people who didn't show up for work. And I'm not exaggerating.
Jeez.
I know 20 people who died, 20 who got out of the building, and 20 who did not show up for work. The treasurer at my church worked for Cantor Fitzgerald on the 84th floor, right where the company that the plane hit. In the 4 years he had worked there, he had never been late for work. He woke up when he normally would have been getting on the bus.
Wow.
20 minutes saved his life. We are where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. Always remember that.
Yeah, that just gave me chills. I completely agree. I completely agree. It's we are supposed to be where we are, and big believer within faith and what the universe has for us. So I completely agree with you there. As you had the practice for those 13 years, I know that there was an exit event. I think that you on the real estate building. Talk to us about what that's like. First off, owning the real estate. How did you, acquire it? That's obviously not easy to do. How did you sell the practice? And because then you retired, right? You were done. And as entrepreneurs, obviously, we're here today having a conversation. But walk us through that.
Again, this was almost spontaneous. I mean, one Friday morning, driving in, because I lived in New Jersey, and coming down 9W to the George Washington Bridge, I, holding the steering wheel and coming down the highway, I said to myself, why are you still doing this? How old are you? Why are you still 6 o'clock in the morning on your way to New York Hospital to operate all day? And I got there. I did my 4 majors. When they were four, I finished about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and I cleaned out my locker, went to the desk and said, Nubia, I just cleaned out my locker. I'm not coming back up here. Every single head in the place turned. Every head. Doctors, nurses. Did she just say that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming back up here. Locker 249 in the first room. You can have it. And everybody looked at me. Nubia said, but Dr. Harris, you have cases scheduled next week. And the week after, I said, don't worry, they'll be rescheduled. I never went back, not even to say goodbye to everybody else. That was the October, and by December, I was done. I took 3 months. I delivered everybody who I needed to deliver. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. I think I lost him, and I'm not sure when. Same thing happened last time the person was with Riverside. Yeah, it's still going and it's still recording, but he's disappeared. I have no idea. You tell me. You're the you're the computer person. It's the one that can.
I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now I can. What happened?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. It just cut out.
You're freezing. Can I tell you something? The only other problem I've had has been with somebody else who used Riverside. Where the
Really?
same
Was
thing
Riverside?
happened.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, normally it's so reliable.
And now you're garbled. I cannot hear you
Garbled.
clearly.
You can't hear me. Okay, let's just.
You're garbled.
How's that? Is that better?
Better. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. It's looking like it's trying to just reestablish the connection. Is that better? Does it seem like a normal flow now?
You're still kind of, you're not garbled, but you're talk again. Speak.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. It's a little.
Just a little bit delayed. Just a little bit delayed, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, that is better.
Okay. Let's just pick up where we left off. You were driving down the road, and then I'm going to have my team edit it. So let's just pick up right at 4:30 or 43 minutes and 5 seconds.
I'm sorry. Where was I? What was I talking about at that time?
You were just talking about you were driving down the road. Why am I still doing this at 6 a.m?
Okay. So you didn't hear any of the story about my quitting and not going back up there, cleaning out my locker?
No. Basically, where it stopped was you driving. Why am I still doing this at 6 a.m.? Hold on one second.
You're still not clear.
Hold on one second.
You're still not clear.
How's that? How are we doing here? Is it delayed or is it okay?
That's much better. This is much better. If it stays this, we're good.
Okay, you can hear me okay?
I can now hear you. I think you're gone again. I think you're gone again. If you can hear me, I can't hear you. And your picture's disappeared, so I'm assuming you're gone again. Can I get some tissue? Did Dana call back?
I said only one person called Cheryl Lloyd and not spam. Lloyd was to the office. Spam was to your phone.
Now I'm just trying to get her to order the credit card machine. That's what she's trying to order. We still don't have a credit card machine. We can't use this one. Try going back in again.
There you go.
Okay. I went and reset my router.
You're frozen. If you can hear me, you're frozen.
Am I still frozen? How's that? Is that okay?
You're frozen. You're frozen. You're frozen.
Let me upload it one. Let me just make sure we get this up.
I can't hear you.
How's that?
Okay, I heard. How's
okay?
That?
Is that better?
It's better so far. Let's keep talking. See what happens.
Okay. We should be good. We should be good now.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
That sounds better.
Okay. All right. Just for my team, we need to pick back up at on 47 minutes and 46 seconds. Go ahead. You were driving down the road, 6 a.m. Why are we doing this? Pick it back up.
So one Friday morning, driving in to do surgery, which I did every Friday, did my major operating on Fridays. And I'm going down in New Jersey on my way to the George Washington Bridge to go over the bridge to go to New York Hospital. And I started asking myself, why are you still doing this? Your age, here it is, 39 years later. Why are you still doing this? And I got there, I finished, did my cases. Matter of fact, I kept all day. I remember screaming at the resident, come on, pick up the pace, you're too slow. And finished at about 4:30 and said, went into the locker room, cleaned out my locker, and went out to the desk and said, Nubia, I just cleaned out my locker. I'm not coming back up here. And every head in the nurse's station turned around. Did she just say that? I mean, everybody reacted. Doctors, nurses, everybody, clerks, everybody. And Nubia looked at me and said, but doc, you have cases scheduled next week and the week after. And I said, oh, don't worry. They'll be rescheduled. I never, ever went back up there. Not even to say goodbye. Never went back up there. And that was October. By December, everything was done. By December, I had closed down the practice, sold it, put the office, the physical space on the market, which again, it's interesting and funny because when I bought the physical space, everybody was, why are you buying an office? I mean, remember now, this is back in the 80s when I bought it. This is now 2012, 2013. And everybody was like, why are you buying this space? And I'm like, well, where I come from, we like to have our own. we like to have our own. So yeah, I bought it and it was a great investment. I mean, I bought the space, it was like 2,500 square feet in a co-op building. And that's another story for another time. Because co-ops in New York are notorious, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. And I had to take them on in order for them to sell it to me. Okay. And I bought it for what, 600 and sold it for 2.1 million. I think I did pretty well. Agreed?
Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
So
4 extra money, 3.5 extra money. Yeah. It's wonderful. Well, you sold the practice, you sold the building in a very short period of time. Did you?
I went and lay on the beach in St. Lucia for a month.
Good for you.
And then I lay on the beach in Jamaica for a month. Then I came back and ran around New York, New Jersey, Connecticut for a month. And then said, okay, deep breath. Now what do I do? And here I am.
So what is it that you're doing now?
So I run what I call the Wellness Restoration Center. One of the problems I had, and this was clearly brought out when I had my wake-up call and my catastrophic brain attack, as I call it, air quotes. One of the problems with medicine is we wait for things, allopathic medicine that is, we wait for things to break and then try to fix it. We don't even really try to fix it. We just manage it. Hypertension is managed. Heart disease is managed. We don't even try to fix it half the time. We wait for things to break and then manage or try to fix it, which kind of sort of just never made any sense. Why do we wait for it to break? Why don't we make it not break? Why don't we address it so that what happens doesn't happen in the first place? And that's what wellness is all about. That literally is what wellness is all about. We actually can, with the right seasoning in the pot, get the soup that we want. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense for me. And I think, for the providers, practice owners that tune in, I think it makes sense for them, but I think it's very important to discuss and talk about, especially as providers, right? We are consistently delivering wellness, aesthetics, medicine to patients. We also need to work on our own wellness. And you're seeing this huge shift take place right now. And I don't know if I think it's
It's
like this
about
surge after
time.
COVID. It's time. And maybe COVID was like a blessing in disguise to make us to wake everybody up. I don't know, but
It's
you're seeing
time.
this wellness aesthetics explode. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on my own wellness journey. Fitness, eating correctly, breath work. Shoot, this morning I had sauna, cold plunge, cardiovascular exercise, weight training. I have meal plans. I do take some peptides. I'm on some hormone replacement therapy. So I'm on this journey. I'm constantly looking to elevate and continue to work on my machine right before my machine breaks.
We know for a fact that lifestyle makes a difference. We
Yep.
know that.
Yep.
Everything you've just said that you're doing, every single one of them is important to the whole. Everything you just said. And then some is important to the whole.
And this is your new passion. This is your new passion, helping patients, like basically helping your area of expertise of wellness. And how has that been for you?
Well,
Are you loving it?
I love it. When I came back, as I said, is when I changed. Now, obviously, I had not been trained in any of that. They don't teach us that stuff in medical school. They do not.
Right. Yep.
Okay? We had a year's worth of pharmacology every day, 5 days a week, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, 5 days a week for a year. To this day, because I have a photographic memory, to this day, I can still draw you the pictures of the drugs and look at the drug, show me a picture, and I'll go, oh, that's such and such. And oh, that's to this day. But that's what they teach in medical schools. They do not, do you know, for example, that most medical schools, I don't know about now, but up to 10 or 15 years ago, most medical schools did not have a nutrition course for the doctors. And those that had it, it was an elective. Now tell
Do you
me,
think that's by design? Is that by design?
that's what
I
I'm
don't know.
saying. The pharmaceutical companies basically rule the medical schools. The
They
pharmaceutical
fund it.
companies actually determine what is taught. Now, don't get me wrong. Medicine has come a far way. If I'm in an accident, please don't pour juice on me. Please take me to the nearest trauma center. But on an everyday, day-to-day basis, our lifestyle makes a big difference. Just as we found out about cigarette smoke back in the 80s and 90s, there are so many other things that we control. And that old 70-30 rule, where we thought 70% of it was our genetics and 30% was our environment. Guess what? That's flipped. 30% is our genetics and 70% is our environment. And that's been well proven. That's been well proven. So no, don't pour juice on me if I've had an accident. But guess what? I exercise. I take my vitamins. I literally take sometimes 25, 30 capsules a day. All the supplements that I do. As I said, I stopped eating meat way back then, 25, 28, 29 years ago. Stopped eating meat, went to a plant-based diet. At one point, I was rawtarian. Another point, I was vegan, vegetarian. Right now, I'm pescatarian. I've just put fish back in about 2 or 3 years ago. You know, but and again, it makes such a difference. Nutrition is important. Like I will speak to a patient about vitamins, for example, and they'll look at me and say, oh, I have to ask my doctor. And I smile and I close the chart because I know that their doctor doesn't have a clue because I was trained the same way their doctor was trained. All of the things I know now about all of that, I had to go out there and learn.
Mm.
I had to go out there seeking it. And I found this all for me. My mission now is to get specifically women, but everybody, people in general, to start at home, change their lifestyle to the point where their nutrition, their exercise program, how much water they drink, their vitamins. For example, 85% of the people who died from COVID were vitamin D deficient. 80%. Now, if you live in Florida or Texas or wherever, you can go in the sun. You can go in the sun for an hour, direct sunlight for an hour, and you'll be fine. I live in New York. I'm going to sun for 6 hours, and I'm not going to be fine. I will not have converted enough to have enough vitamin D. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, I mean,
Rest,
most people
for
work in an
example.
office or work at home and they're not getting the vitamin D that they need.
No.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
We regenerate our cells when we sleep. All of that happens with rest. We still need 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. A lot of people don't get that. Whether they're staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning watching the stupid TV or whatever, or for whatever reason. Or maybe they're perimenopausal and menopausal women who go to bed and in 2 hours they're up and they can't get back to sleep. Hey, here I am. We can fix it, But there are just so many things. The amount of rest, even the way we breathe. I get people we don't use our entire lung capacity. We breathe in such a way that we only use the top half. And I try to get people 3 or 4 times a day to actually do an exercise where you bring it down to your diaphragm. I mean, breathe in, count to 4, hold for 4, out for 4, that type of, there are so many things we can do now, which makes such a big difference. You talked about peptides. You talked about hormones. There is still this whole myth and misconception that hormones are not good for you. Hormones are amazing. Hormones are the operating managers of our bodies. There are 400 functions that are tied into our hormones. There are hormone receptors on every single cell in the body. How could something that is tied in to everything and is on every cell not be important? Because of a misguided, fully flawed study 23 years ago, a whole generation has missed out on the protection that hormones can and do give.
Super important. Yeah, listen to what she's saying, guys. She's got obviously a ton of passion about it. And, we have to work on ourselves. We have to continuously fuel our bodies in such a way that's going to give us the ability to have maximum performance. Or else you wake up in a hotel room with a Mack truck on your head and have to change lifestyle. It's almost like running into to a brick wall to where you can't go anymore, right? And look at you now. You're happy. You have great energy, very well spoken, amazing cognitive thinking, and have a purpose. I'm on your website right now. You offer all sorts of amazing products and services and treatments that help prevent, long-term issues, long-term health issues, anything from sexual wellness all the way up to, men's health, hair restoration to weight loss, the GLP-1 stuff, so you guys, I would encourage you, take the time to reach out to her. She has incredible insight, obviously, from everything she's done in the past, everything she's doing now. And, where do you go from here? What's the plan and your mission from here? Obviously, you're going to go down this path of continuously helping people, but where does the Wellness Restoration Center go from here as you driving the bus?
Well, what we're in the process of doing is I'm in the process of becoming hybrid. because I've never done anything online. And in order to reach more people, I decided that I have to, they say you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
So I have to somehow come online. And what actually happened was about a year ago, I had 40, she was 42, 40, no, she was 44-year-old Asian woman came in who said she had been suffering hot flashes, all the vasomotor symptoms, all the brain stuff, the brain fog and anxiety and irritability. Had There were 34 primary hormonal symptoms in women. 34.
Mm-hmm.
She had 30 of the 34 at 44 years old. Now perimenopause begins at 40, but menopause is not until 50, 51, 52. So we're talking about a long time for this to not only continue but to worsen. And she had been to 5 different gynecologists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count them. She waited 6 months to get an appointment with the head of the menopause clinic at one of the premier New York institutions. The woman, all 5 gynecologists, by the way, dismissed her totally and completely. Dismissed her, did not even listen to her. The woman in charge of the menopause clinic, the head of the menopause clinic, listened to her, did not examine her, did not test her, did absolutely nothing. She listened and when finished said, you know what? You're only 42, 40. You're having regular periods. It's too early, but let me help you. Gave her a prescription for gabapentin, a prescription for Prozac, and a prescription for Vioza, and said, come back in a year. Now, if you know what those 3 things are, I mean, she came in, I worked her up, and I always work everybody up. I try to take care of the whole patient because everything is somehow connected to everything else. And that's something right now we're also super specialized. A whole lot of doctors don't know that and don't do that. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not going to take care of your heart if we find a calcium score of 2000 or something like that. There's no way I'm going to go put stents in you. But do you understand what I'm saying? If somebody comes to me and I, after doing the history and doing the examination and doing the labs, if I don't look for or direct what direction they go, stuff is going to be missed. So I do that. I try to take care of the whole patient. She came in, I did my full workup, and it was just her hormones. That's all. She was in perimenopause. That's easy enough for us to fix. So we fixed it. She came back 6 or 8 weeks later, and she's still blessing me. She is still, God bless you, God bless you, God. She's still blessing me. As she says, I feel like a person again. I feel like myself again. And this is after having been to 5 gynecologists who are still out there saying, you can't take hormones because the Women's Health Initiative study said you're going to get blood clots and you're going to get breast cancer. Not true. We have disproved, that was disproven within 2 years. Except that instead of being front page and headline New York Times and Wall Street Journal, it was now 2 paragraphs on page 30 in the paper. Yeah. But the information is there. And we now know hormones are brain protective, heart protective, vessel protective, bone protective. What kills little old ladies more than a broken hip? 48% of little old ladies who break a hip don't live a year. 48%. Men are not far behind, by the way. Okay? So, osteopenia, osteoporosis, estrogen maintains our bones. Testosterone builds our bones. And by the way, ladies, if you're getting hormones, you need testosterone as well. It does for us the same thing it does for men. As a matter of fact, we have 10 times more testosterone than we have estrogen. 10 times more. Now, we have 10 times less than men, don't get me wrong.
Right, right. So, I mean, being misdiagnosed 5 different times, coming to you 6 to 8 weeks, saying thank you, you changed my life. I mean, this is amazing. I hear a lot of these stories, and we're so grateful to have people like you that jump into this area of expertise and help the regular people like us. My wife has gone through a lot of this stuff and goes to the old gyno, same type of diagnosis, and then goes to the wellness clinic. Completely different approach. Lab work, let's look at your hormones, let's look at your testosterone levels. It's all about lab work, and then getting on this holistic approach that is such a it fixes the issue, and it helps with the long-term longevity plan of of their mission. And so
That's the
thank you
other
so much
thing.
for you do.
That's the other thing. Makes the difference between being my age and older, pushing a stroller, or, being able to take care of yourself and still perform all your activities of daily living, and going out there and walking 5 miles a day, 5 days a week, and lifting weights, building your muscles, and taking your vitamins so that, I actually, it's funny, at the, what is it, A4M conference, the anti-aging conference, I was looking at a bone density machine, and, they have them for the office where they test your finger and your wrist and your heel and what have you. And I volunteered, oh, I'll do it. And the technician looked at me and said, "How old are you?" I have never seen anybody your age with a bone density like this, because the graph is down here and I was up here.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, bone density starts to dissipate, the older you get. And, that's what causes a lot of that, where you fall and break a hip, and that causes some serious issues. Then you're, put in a home, or you fall again, or you can't get up. I was actually listening to another podcast that just talked about the importance of bone density and what to take to continue the bone density and muscle, mass, and super important. Well, hey, I know you're super busy, and I really, really appreciate you being on. This has been a wonderful conversation, so inspiring for so many people. And so if people want to find you, reach out to you, connect with you, where's the best place for them to go?
The best place is to the Wellness Restoration Center in New York City. We're on Madison Avenue, brick and mortar. As I said, I'm going hybrid, so I'll be online in a minute. And I do tele visits and that type of thing. I also have something I can offer your listeners if anybody is interested, and that's what I call my ultimate menopause survival toolkit, which is a free resource. Go on to the website www.drmarcia, and that's it.
Yeah, she's got a beautiful website, guys. Go check her out. She's got an incredible story. If you happen to be in New York, want to travel to New York, drop by, say hi to her. She's just got a wealth of knowledge, and we're just blessed to have somebody like this on the show.
I have someone coming in from Dubai this week.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
Okay, there you go. See, it's it's worth the investment to travel to have somebody ultimately change your life and make such a huge impact on what you guys have to do. So
my phone number
again, thank you so much for joining. Yeah. There you have it. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful day.
Right.
Until next time, happy health journey.